To You, The Immortal is a series that has been recommended so much in the past couple of months. And after so many recommendations, I finally sat down and read the first chapter this morning. I gotta say, damn. I did not expect to get so many feels while reading the first chapter, to get so connected with a character and feel so sad once I finished the first chapter. And I'm just gonna say right now, like, if this is what I can expect from the series, I'm probably gonna fucking enjoy it. So before I dive into what the actual series is about, I want to do a couple of clarifications. At this time, I've only read one chapter. Also, the writer of this series, if you have read the series or if you're thinking about reading the series, the writer of this series is the same mangaka that wrote A Silent Voice. If you know about A Silent Voice, then most likely you'll know that the writer of that series is fucking amazing. They know how to have drama, bittersweet moments, and some really great build-up to characters, and that's what we get with this first chapter of To You, The Immortal. And so if you're a fan of A Silent Voice, and you love Yoshitoki's, previous work, then you're gonna love this manga. And I'm gonna say right now, though, if you're looking for something very similar to A Silent Voice, you're probably not gonna get it with this manga series. I mean, even though the art style, you could see a similarity in the art style since it's the same writer and artist, the story-wise, it's really different. Like, the plot and everything is just completely different. Because, as you know, A Silent Voice focuses on, like, a school life setting, while this series, it's more supernatural, but with drama and also just some sad, bittersweet moments. So, I mean, if you're into that type of stuff, especially with, what I just described for To You, The Immortal, then you might like this series. So, I'm just gonna say right now that the first chapter, it really got me with how different it was from everything I have read ever. I've seen a lot of manga. I've seen a lot of different plot lines and things used over and over and, taken a different direction. However, I don't think I've ever seen a series quite like this, or very, similar to this, because the premise of it is different from anything I am currently reading, and so let me kind of dive into it. So, the series starts off with what I can only assume is God throwing down this object, like this ball, down onto Earth. And over time, this ball decides to transform into a rock. And then once time passes, eventually the rock transforms into fungus/mold. And after that finally passes, once time continues to move onward, a dog/wolf eventually wanders near this moss. And then, as the dog is dying and injured, this moss turns into the dog. And once this is done, the dog goes off wandering and does whatever it wants, and eventually it comes upon a boy. And this boy was actually the previous owner of the dog. And from what we gather from the situation is that the world is a very lonely place right now. It's covered in snow, it's just a frozen tundra from what we can see, and this boy is all by himself. No one is there to comfort him. And from what little information we gather from the first chapter is that he's been alone for a very, very long time. At one time, he did have a massive family in a big village that spent time together, friends, family, but they decided to carry on, move on, and try to find greener pastures, for instance, like a better area that's, better for humanity to live in, instead of just this tundra and this wasteland, which is nothing but snow and barely anything alive at all. And so, his family and friends decided to venture south. And he was left behind because he wanted to stay behind for his grandparents, but also he stayed behind because of his dog. And so when he stayed behind, after, I'm assuming many months to years, his grandparents finally passed away. And after his grandparents passed away, he was very lonely, and you can see in the way he actually just, presents himself in this chapter, that it really gets to him. He's tired of being alone, he's tired of constantly talking to a dog and just talking to himself, because even though he has a companion, which is his dog there, and we do know it's a creature that shifted into it, so his original dog is dead, he's very lonely because he has no one to talk to, no human interaction at all, and eventually he decides to travel south and follow his family and friends. And along his journey, he actually gets injured, but he's like, it's not that bad, and continues to move forward. And as he moves forward, eventually he comes upon the remains of his family and friends. everyone that he knew and loved, everyone that decided to venture south, they died. And it's very sad because this is a boy that's been by himself for such a long time and has discovered everything, or everybody he's been waiting for so long. They were never going to come back because they were dead. They never found paradise. They never found, an area that wasn't covered in snow. And because of the sadness that the boy felt, he decided to turn around and head back to where his start was. When he gets there, his injuries obviously gotten a hell of a lot worse because he's been traveling, walking, snow, and all that, and doesn't have any medicine to really care for it, and he succumbs to his injuries. And that was probably something I never expected to happen, because I thought, this boy was going to become the main character of the series. I mean, I do know that the title is To You, the Immortal, and I know that the dog that's immortal is probably going to be the central character, but I thought the boy was going to, travel alongside of this dog. But that didn't happen. The boy, in his final moments, he looks around, and you see these portraits of his friends and family, the faces he doesn't want to, forget, and he's like, looks at the dog, he's like, I've been talking to myself this entire time, but he's like, please, don't forget me. And then he dies. And on his death, this immortal creature, which is the dog, transforms into the boy. And so, what this means is that this creature, which can take the shape of many different things, it can take the shape of things that are dead, or things that died a very tragic death. And so, to have this creature to transform, it has to experience something that's even more tragic than the last, from what I can assume. For instance, how, the dog died, and then it transformed into the dog, and then it gained consciousness, and eventually, because of the boy dying, it transformed into the boy. So this creature, which was cast down by some form of god, that's the only thing I can assume, because it's not clarified, it has the ability to turn into other beings. And because now it is the boy, it's actually gained consciousness, the ability to speak. And it's now kind of carrying on the legacy of the boy to where the boy will never be forgotten. And I don't know if this series is ever going to change the shape of this creature once again, because we do know that it can constantly change shape. And there is a possibility, as, this immortal creature decides to continue on with its journey to find paradise for the boy, since the boy has passed away, there might be a possibility that, this creature might change shape again. And I feel like it's a very tragic message, because we gotta remember what the boy's final words were. The boy said, "Do not forget about me. Please, don't forget me." And then the creature transforms into the boy. And if the creature was ever to transform into something else, would that necessarily mean he's finally forgetting or moving on past this boy and everything that's happened in the past? It's just a very big question I have about this series, but that's pretty much a quick summary of what, the first chapter is about, and it's definitely something I did not expect from this series. I did not think it would be that dramatic or that sad in the first chapter, because the sad thing is that the reason why I'm calling this character a boy, or just saying boy, is because we never learned the name of this character at all. We never did. We learned the name of the dog. I think the name of the dog, how to pronounce it, is Johann, so it's kind of sad how we never found out about the boy's name. And it's kind of more fucked up when you realize the message of that, of how the boy says, "Please don't forget about me," but we don't know the boy's name, and he dies. And I feel like that's kind of like a message from Yoshitoki, the mangaka of this series, letting us know that what makes this scene so much sadder, and how this immortal being is going to be carrying on the legacy of the boy to find that paradise that the boy can never see with his own eyes. So yeah, first chapter, it's different. It's a very different manga. I did not expect this manga to kind of be quite like this. I mean, I knew it had to be something about like an immortal being or something because of the title. However, I didn't expect the series to go this type of direction. And I mean, it really makes me curious exactly where the writer of the series wants to take this, because with an immortal being, there's a lot to work with here, because for one, this creature's never going to die, unless there's other ways for this creature to die, and that would mean that it's going to learn a lot, it's going to see a lot in its life, and it's going to eventually get to a point to where it might reach a point to where all immortal beings might feel like, why? Like, is there any point to continue on living and seeing everyone pass away? There's a lot of interesting developments that can take place for this creature that can transform into other things, and I wonder what direction the manga wants to take with this. So yeah, I'm glad it started. I'm glad Minnie recommended me to read this series, because honestly, I didn't know anything about it until Minnie just started saying, "Chibi, you need to read this," and finally got around to it after many of you kept saying, hey, read To You the Immortal, you're gonna fucking love it. So that's about it. I mean, the first chapter, if this is any indication of what the series is about, especially with how the chapter ended, then I'm expecting something to really hit me just straight up in the feels. Because A Silent Voice is a very sad series. I'm about halfway through A Silent Voice. I haven't actually completed it yet. But that's a very sad series, too. And that shit's just a gut puncher. That just, like, fucking nails you in the gut and just twists its fucking fist or a knife or whatever in your gut because of how sad it can be. And if I've learned anything from the previous works of this mangaka, then I'm going to assume that this series is going to get very fucking sad. Oh, very sad. So if you're looking for something like this, if you're looking for, like, a supernatural / shonen, focused on an immortal being, carrying on the legacy of a dead boy whose name we don't even know, I recommend trying out this manga's first chapter. I think there's about 13 to 14 chapters out right now. It is a series that is constantly getting updates. It is getting updates constantly. It's not a series that has just, like, 5 chapters translated and it's not being translated for months. It is continuously getting translated from what I'm aware of. It does get updated, like, every single week from what I'm assuming. And so if you're into this, I recommend go give it a shot and see if you like it for yourself. So yeah, I'm going to go read the second chapter later today once I get all these videos up and the Chibi questions and stuff. But yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone that recommended me to read this series. I do appreciate it. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.